close that. So now I'm going to turn on JAWS.
JAWS, splitting sounds tip for JAWS meeting controls.
And then I can open up the internet browser again.
I
go to
enter. Welcome to this page. Welcome.
Training
online
test.
practice and training tests portal online.
And I'm going to click the app because I need to log back in.
Firefox main region guns BCD gov password star alert blank.
I'm really glad it said star
blank.
Every once in a
page
while.
has 3 regions. TDS main region active session. Click here. Dialog main region active sessions tab panels. Page has practice test selection. Practice test selection. Filter by level 1. Grade 6. Top practice and training site. Top practice and training site Mozilla Firefox navigation.
I'm going to go ahead and enter it this way for a student again. On CASP, I'm going to click on the student interface. But you with your students are going to use a secure browser. But again, I can't.
Student colon log main region.
Let me log in actually.
Top practice and training site. Session ID code D653 D650 main region. Session ID part 3 S4 74. Sign in button to activate. Press enter. Student main region. Grade 6. Grade 6. List with 1 item. Start grade 6 dash.
The test.
Top practice and training site.
So now again the approval's not there, so I'm just going to
top practice and training.
And I'm going to
approvals 1 button.
I'm going to click on the eyeball.
Grade 6. Set.
So for this one, I need to change the presentation to Braille.
Presentation.
That's something that's locked on the day of the test. So that'll already be Braille if you have a Braille reading student. For the mute system volume,
list.
I want it to read everything. So I'm going to click off because I want it to read the items and passages aloud. So I'm turning off the mute system. The word volume always throws me off. And then permissive mode, we want that on because we want JAWS to be running. And here's where you're going to choose your Braille type, and this you're going to choose on the day of the
list
test.
With 6 items.
I'm going to choose UEB contracted. And then Streamline is already chosen for me because that's the default for someone who reads Braille. And that's it for a JAWS.
Grade alert here, student login with.
Get to listen to the amazing piano music again.
With replay. I could play the begin test now button. Test.
Okay. So for this, I'm going to want to press Q to get to the main region.
Main region.
And then I can just down arrow.
Page 1 is ready. 1 passage and 2 questions. Passage menu button menu. Article. Read the text and answer the questions. Eureka. By James Baldwin. 1 active test. 0. There was once a king of Syracuse whose name was Hiero.
We don't need to listen to the whole thing, but your student can just go ahead and down arrow through all of it and listen to it, or they can be panning on their Braille display if they're just reading the Braille. If your student has finished reading this, then they can just keep down arrowing and they'll get to question 1. But since we're not going to go ahead and read all of this, because no one has that kind of time right now, we're going to go ahead and press the H for heading.
0.
Question number 1.
Required question number 1 heading level 3. Item 1 menu button menu. Click on the 2 sentences that best support the conclusion that Archimedes is very observant button.
So when it says observant button, if you press the space bar, it's going to give you a definition of observant. It's a little bit tricky because you're wanting to know that Archimedes is a very observant button. But that's the reason why you're going to want to do your practice test with your students so they start getting a little bit familiar that Archimedes is not a very observant button. And as you listen to the choices, and I'm just going to pick answers. I did not read the story.
A. There was in the king's court a very wise man whose name was Archimedes. Checkbox not checked.
So it said checkbox not checked. So I know that's a checkbox. So if I press spacebar,
Space. Main region. Item region. There was in the king's court a very wise man whose name was Archimedes. Checkbox checked. A clear check mark. Press space bar. 0.
So now it says that it is checked. So I can always
14%.
know that. That percentage is just telling me how much of the test I'm done. It doesn't do that in the regular test. It used to, but it does not anymore.
B. When D was C. Left quote D. Left quote most gold is yellow. Right quote C. But Archimedes was not space. But Archimedes was not the man to say that anything was impossible. Checkbox checked. A clear.
Okay. So one thing I like to remind my students is that it does say 2 sentences. So making sure that they read the directions, because if you only choose one, it will let you move off the page and continue on with the test. If you don't answer it all, it will tell you that you didn't answer the question. You need to go back and answer it. But if you only click one out of the 2, then it will go ahead and let you continue. So I'm just going to press the down arrow. And if I get stuck, which I saw several of my students getting stuck here, it would just go A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, and it would just get stuck in that cycle. If that happens, then press escape, and then it'll let you continue on. So we'll see if we get stuck or not.
Heading level 3 required : question number 2.
We did not.
Item 2 menu button menu. Summarize what happens after Archimedes sees his bathwater overflowing. Use key events from the text to support your summary.
And then I'm just going to keep pressing the down arrow.
Type your response. Item region. Type your response. Edit. Type in text.
So you heard that little click. That means that I entered forms mode. So now I can type. And I just did that by pressing down arrow. You can also do it by pressing spacebar when it said type your answer. If you just wanted to get to an edit box, you can press E to get an edit box and then press the spacebar to get into forms mode. So now I can type.
love S-A-T-E-S-T-S-I-G testing exclaim.
Okay, hi, I love state testing. That's going to be my answer. And when I'm done typing, I need to get out of forms mode so I can continue to navigate on the test. So I'm going to go ahead and press escape.
Escape. Virtual PC cursor 0.
And you heard the different tone. And now I can press the down arrow again.
Main region end.
The main region end.
Next page shortcut button.
The next page shortcut button. And I can press spacebar right here to get to the next button.
Space 29%. Main region.
So it already said I was in the main region, but if I wasn't sure, I can press the Q.
Wrapping to top. Main region.
And then I can just down arrow.
Page 2 is ready. Heading level 3 require item 3 menu. But a student is writing a narrative for a literary magazine about 2 friends on a hot day. Read the draft of the introduction and complete the task that follows.
Okay. So we already did an edit box, so I'm just going to go ahead and press E to get into that edit box so we can move on.
Type your response. Edit.
And then I'm going to press the space bar.
Space. Item Hi exclaim.
And then I'm going to go ahead and press escape to get out of forms mode.
Escape. Virtual PC cursor.
And then I'm going to press the down arrow until I hear the next button.
Main region end. Next page shortcut button.
And I can press spacebar.
Space 43%. Next page shortcut button to activate. Press enter. Main region.
So this one is radio buttons, and you're going to have the down arrow until you get down there. For the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and click it for us. To answer the radio buttons, it's just like doing a checkbox. You can go ahead and press the space bar to select one.
Item region, multiple choice, group, 57%. Option D, we used the same weight on the car for each test and we measured how long it took the car to travel 6 feet using a stopwatch. Radio button checked, 4 of 4.
And if I wanted to change my mind, I could go up to C and press the space bar, and then it would unselect D and select C, because radio buttons, you can only have one choice. So it's just something you want to practice, that check boxes, you need to uncheck them by pressing the space bar again. Radio buttons, if you select a different answer, it's going to go ahead and change your answer. So if I go up to C,
option C, we space, option C, we wonder.
It just changed it to C. So I'm going to go ahead and press the down arrow until I get to the next button.
Option D, we used the stopwatch period. Group end. Main region. Next page shortcut button.
And then I can press spacebar.
Space. Next page shortcut button.
For these, the play pause button, that's totally accessible. If you have one that pops up that has a pause, a play, and like a forward button, it has 3 different ones. That one's not accessible, and that one you're gonna have to click for your students. So I'm gonna go ahead and press Q.
Wrapping to top, main region, page 4 is ready. What passage menu button men article. The world's oldest pottery.
And I'm just down arrowing.
Listen to the presentation, then answer the questions. Start playing button.
So I can press the space bar here.
Space.
In the following presentation.
Space.
And then the presentation is going to go ahead and start. And then you just want to make sure that your student presses control right away. Otherwise, JAWS is going to talk over the beginning part of it. And then you can go ahead and down arrow to get to the rest of it. And they're radio buttons. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on them because we've already covered
item
radio
region.
buttons.
Multiple choice. Group. 71. Item region.
Boxes.
Hunter-gatherers ate many types of foods. Checkbox checked. Navigation region.
Okay. So this one you definitely want to practice tables with your students. I'm going to go ahead and just get down here and see if I can
Group start table of checkboxes.
get straight down there so that we don't have to listen to the whole question. So I'm just going to down arrow now. If your student was taking the test, you'd press Q and down arrow and listen to all of the sources, but we don't need to do that for this demonstration purpose.
Table with 5 columns and 4 rows.
Okay, so it gives us information about the columns and rows.
Blank. Source 1.
So then it's just going to read across the columns,
Source 2. Both sources.
but not really
Neither source.
any other information. And then once it gets to the last column, it's going to come down to the rows.
Claim 1. 0. America created its postal service in part to protect the rights of its people.
So it's really important to go over these with your students so that they know how to navigate these tables. So I'm going to press the down arrow again, and it's going to take me to that first checkbox, and then the student's going to know a little bit better where they are.
Claim 1. America created its postal service in part to protect the rights of its people. And source 1 checkbox not checked.
So it's going to read the row, and then it's going to read the column, and it's going to say checkbox not checked. So then your student kind of knows where they are. So claim 1 from source 1. And if it is, then they're going to go ahead and press the down arrow.
Space. Table of checkboxes. Group. Claim 1.
And then they can go ahead and press the down
Claim
arrow.
1. America created its postal service in part to protect the rights of it. Claim 1. America created
They
its
can just
postal
keep pressing
service
the
in
down
part to
arrow until they get to claim 2, unless they want to click more than one box.
Claim 2. Benjamin Franklin made important contributions to the postal system in America.
Okay.
Claim 2. Benjamin Franklin made important contributions to the postal system in America. Alert. Please submit the test when you have finished.
Pop up.
Claim 2. Benjamin Franklin made important contributions to the postal system in America. And source 2 checkbox not checked.
Okay, so whichever one I want to do, I can go ahead and press the space bar. Let's say it's source 2.
Space. Claim 2. Benjamin Franklin made important contributions to the postal system in America. Source 2. Column 3 row 3. Claim 2. Benjamin Franklin made important contributions to the postal system in America. And source 2 checkbox checked. A clear checkmark. Press space bar.
So it's important that your student knows that if they change their mind, they need to make sure that they uncheck the box. And it told us that that was the end of the test. So that's the last type of question that you're going to see on the test. And then once you're done, you can go ahead and end the test. You can press the down arrow to get all the way down there, or you can click the end test. But again, it already said that I could end the test, but I haven't quite finished. So make sure that your student goes all the way down, because once you start answering it, then it thinks that you can move on at any point. Again, if there's no answer, you can't move on. If it's a partial answer, you can. So that is navigating with JAWS and with magnification.